All right, hello everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island, and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island, and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. Members of council, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, there being none, if I can get an adoption of our minutes from the September 12th meeting. Moved Councillor Regis Spagnolo, support Councillor Desjardins, all in favor, and that carries. Items for consideration. Item 1, we have the last call before fall report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. The last call before fall, the inaugural last call before fall event was a resounding success. Thank you, Mayor Meloche, for sharing the positive comments that you did a few weeks back in council. We ended with an overall surplus of about $3,100. That's a little less than what was budgeted for, but there were several costs that were related to the startup of the event. For example, tokens and signage that we will be able to use in subsequent years. So overall, it was a really great event. I did want to make note of something that is not included in my report, and that is just to recognize the staff that worked so hard to plan the event. One thing that council may not be aware of is that this was almost an entirely new team of people, whether they be new or new to their roles. So the last time we did an event like this would have been the Craft Beer Festival. Everybody in the department was either not with us or in a different role. So I want to congratulate the team, Owen specifically, who took the lead on the event, and Scott and Jordan were all new to the role. Kim, who helped out with the event, was familiar with the the beer festival, but she was the only one on the team at the time. So they did an amazing job for a first-time event, and again, to bring in a surplus on the first year of an event is usually not a common thing, so I really want to recognize the team for that. And of course, all the other departments that assisted us with it. So this afternoon, just looking for a resolution to receive the report, but also to provide authorization to begin preparations for next year's event and to declare that event a municipally significant event for the purposes of the special occasion permit.
Thank you very much. Members of council, questions or comments? Councillor Regis Spagnolo.
Thank you, through you. So I just wanted to make a comment that the event was fantastic. I was there both evenings, and your team, as well as all the other teams that were involved, did a fantastic job, so you should be applauded for that. I did have a question. Do the vendors pay us a fee to be there to sell? They do? Okay, because I didn't see that. And I had another question. Now, the only other comment that I would have, and I gave the suggestion to Owen, I believe that night, or one of the nights, is perhaps next year we can look at having a few more food vendors with some, I know a lot of feedback that I was receiving, and I think I spoke to Mayor Meloche about this, was like popcorn vendors or snack vendors, because people were just suggesting that. So maybe that's just something we can look into next year. But overall, it was a fantastic event. You guys should be proud.
I can kind of maybe comment quickly on that. You can if you'd like to as well. I know we struggled this year, being our inaugural year, to get people on board with the event. I agree with you, having a few more next year will be great, but I honestly think they'll be banging down our door now to be part of this event. So again, nothing negative to say. We were all so happy with it. Councillor Burns, did you want to add something?
Only comment I would make is it'd be nice to have a North American beer. I like people who like craft beer, but I think one product wouldn't hurt us. And that's a selfish, very selfish request, if at all possible. If you don't, I understand. Thank you.
Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you, through you. As we've all said, it was a fantastic event, and I haven't heard any negative comments about it, so that's always a positive for the first time out of the gate for something like this. I did have one question. Going through the budget, I was looking at the expenses, and there's something for vendor payments. There's an almost $8,100 difference. The budget was $19,000, and it was $27,000 were the actuals. What is that for?
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. That is over budget, but it also correlates to the revenue line for token sales, which is $10,000 over budget. So they are represented, there's a component of every token sale that we owe to the vendor. So that's why you'll see both of those being over budget.
Does that answer the question? Do you have any other questions? No, that's fine. Anyone else? Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Like I said, thank you, Your Worship, through you, to the team. I tried to bring as many people who had positive things to say right to the staff, because I walked around that first night and everybody was in, first of all, a wonderful mood. And the one gentleman who I couldn't find, who if he's watching this, I'd ask him to contact you, who said to me that he thought we made a mistake when we purchased the facility, but he took it back. And I couldn't find, I went to find staff, because it's always nice to have, when citizens have very positive things to say, to introduce them to the members of the team that they don't know. So I tried to bring as many of the positive comments directly to the staff. And like I said, wonderful event, loved it, to the point that the one woman that I came and brought loved the title. Everybody was positive, and you guys knocked it out of the park. So thank you very much for your commitment to the town.
Any other comments? Yeah. Councilor Reno, anything to add? No? I think we've all said it. Not only new staff, but a new facility. So you guys just did a great job. Every department, because I know each and every one of you had to be a part of this event to pull it off. So just a big thank you on behalf of council and the residents of LaSalle for such a successful inaugural event. We look forward to more. So we do have the motion to receive. Can I get someone to support? Councilor Richo Spagnuolo, all in favor? And that carries. Yes. Does receive mean we're designating it, or do we have to put that? Do we need an approval as well? Yes? Okay, so. Motion to approve. Okay, okay. Everyone's okay with that? Okay. Item 2, updates to event hosting policy.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon, Council. So the facility rentals event hosting policy is the policy that we use in the Culture and Recreation Department to provide guidance and support to third-party events, either at the Event Center, at the Vollmer, or various properties. So we've updated the policy with 2 changes. One being we've clarified the roles and responsibilities regarding the Special Event Review Team, which is a group of municipal employees that reviews events held on town property. And then the second item is we've removed the expression of interest requirement, which, if you recall, we launched that last December when the Event Center was starting. Now we're into a regular booking schedule, so that requirement's no longer needed within this policy. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council? No? Okay. So we have,
I have a few questions, please, Your Worship.
do you? Okay.
Under page 16, you have 5.2. Allocation for the following year will be held for 30 days after the conclusion of the event. Is that enough time?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. Yes, we do. When we're working with groups to book their event, we do make them aware that if they want to hold their same spot for next year, if they want to make a recurring event, they do need to let us know within 30 days. To my knowledge, at this point, we haven't had any issues with groups confirming that for us.
Thank you. Further question. The damage deposit may be required. I think that should be mandatory. It's no different than when I go to Holiday Inn or to a convention, they take $300 from me on my credit card and say, you'll get it back if you check out and there's no damages. So I don't know why we wouldn't endorse a policy like that. Again, I don't know the amounts, but I think it would be much easier if you had the money up front than to chase the individual on their credit card after the fact. So I just put that in as a recommendation. How you feel about it, I think you can bring back at a later date. Number 7, you answered for me. And then I got into sponsorships, which is 11.4 on page 19. All sponsorships obtained by the event organizer reflects the opinions of the event organizer and do not express the views of the town. I guess I'd like a little clarification of that, and how would we, or have we had any issues with this, and if how was it handled? Thank you.
Yeah, so just in terms of sponsorship, so that section 4.11.1 basically speaks to events that are coming on our property may have items within the facility that they want to have sponsored. So a hockey tournament may want to temporarily sponsor a dressing room and call it the sponsorship room. We just have that in there that, that the town is going to review any of those sponsorships. And then we use our event guidelines to determine what an effective sponsorship is and work with the groups from there.
Final question. I noticed in here you say none of the facilities can be used for a political function. I'll give you an example. If Ford wants to come and have his party at our event center, are you going to stop him? His Ford Fest Day? Because as the policy's written, I believe you would. Could someone answer that for me, and why you wouldn't want a political event there, whether it's the Prime Minister or whoever?
Ms. Monero.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Burns. That is our policy, you're correct, and that we don't want to necessarily align ourselves and our facilities with one political party or the other. So that is in the policy, but certainly if council wishes for us to take a different direction, we can take a look at that.
So perhaps I can add, I think that if I recall correctly, previous councils wanted that in the policy, and that our facilities would not be used for political events of any sort. So we've had situations in the past where they have, we've been approached by political parties that host their events here, and we've told them that the policy prohibits that at this point. We've also had situations where some parties start off an event as a fun event, open to the public, and then it turns into a political event. And so we've had some difficulties in trying to manage that aspect as well. Your point is well taken. If the Premier or the Prime Minister were to come down here and want to be hosted in one of our events, we would tell them that our policy says no, and we would likely come back to council with perhaps an exemption in that. We haven't had that situation just yet, but that is certainly the situation, the policy as it sits. We're open to amending the policy should council wish to do that, but again, the previous council really wanted to get away from any political events being hosted at any of our facilities.
Final follow-up. You have a union event here, and they're political. It's called a picnic. And it's outside. So if I were to follow the policy, they wouldn't be allowed to have it.
Under our current definition, the union would not be a political event. It would be an association, they're an organization, but they are not a political party event.
But Unicorn is political. And they have their picnic here. So in a way, you're violating the policy that you have. I mean, I know it's a family thing, don't get me wrong, and I'm not against it, but it does bring up a question of the policy versus what we're doing.
So my question to you,
Yep.
if this was a discussion council wants to have, I believe this would be the time to have it since we're looking at adopting this policy. If you're proposing something different, maybe we can have that discussion now.
Well, I would make a motion that we allow political events to use our facilities. Because we're doing it anyways. So I'd like to see a change in the policy. Again, if I don't get a seconder, then I know where we're at. But I think we have to look at the other issue as well.
Any other comments, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second it for the purpose of speaking to it. So I'll second Mr. Burns' motion.
Thank you. Does anyone want to, is that okay? Are we okay? Okay. Counselor Carrick, did you want to add something? Yeah, yeah.
I guess my understanding, and I'm not 100% positive, but I think unions aren't political parties. They're not registered as political parties. So I think that's the difference. I also think, though, I like what the CAO said. If we have Premier Ford or the Prime Minister of Canada, or whether you like the individuals or not, I think we can make exceptions or we can bring forward to council. But I don't want to open it up to just any political party. Could be some radical, really far left or right or whatever it could be that just isn't appropriate for us to hold in our facilities, in my opinion. So I would think to leave it just the way that is, and I think I'm okay with that.
Deputy Mayor?
To my colleagues' perception, to my colleagues' comments, there are some political parties that do not validate my existence on this planet. I do not want them coming to LaSalle. And if we as a group decide that we're going to open it to all political parties, then it's all. And that is, from my perspective, I understand what Mr. Burns is saying, and I understand what the CAO said, that we can modify should the Premier or the Prime Minister come, but there are some groups that not. The politics of these groups I find so reprehensible and distasteful that they are registered as political parties in Canada is problematic. So I seconded the motion to be able to speak to it. I'm not in favor of the amendment. I believe the CAO has said quite clearly that we as a group are able to say, the Prime Minister wants to come, we'd love to have you in LaSalle, sir. We have to have a meeting, we have to amend our policy, much the same way that we can deny other people who are distasteful or whose politics do not align with the community's beliefs. So I seconded the motion to speak to it, and I understand what Mr. Burns is trying to do, but I also understand the position the CAO has articulated as to why it's in this policy.
Councilor Renaud?
Thank you, Your Worship. Much like the Deputy Mayor said, there are many different political parties out there. And I just find that political parties tend to divide communities in general. And, you know, everybody has their opinion on how great one is and how poor another one is. And you see flags even flying with very distasteful things from very reputable people. And I just don't think that when we're trying to build a community and trying to have people work together, that we need to put division in front of them. So I will not be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. I think all the statements are fair. I understand what Councillor Burns is trying to say. I mean, I don't know if we need some sort of wording in there to say that, you know, if the Premier or someone of that capacity, I guess maybe we would say, wanted to host an event, that it needs to be reviewed. Do we have to have that wording, or is it going to just be known by administration that they would come to us?
I think those situations, we'd view them on a case-by-case basis, and should they arise, I think we'd have conversations with the mayor at first, and then bring that back to all of council should we have to get to that point. I will also say that we may, again, we've not been presented with this situation in the past. One of the situations that I'm aware of is in another municipality, is that when items or functions like that tend to occur, they tend to be generally pretty secretive until just before the event happens. So it may be difficult to have a council resolution adopting something like, you know, again, contrary to the policy. So we'll have to work out those mechanics. We've not been through that, to be quite honest, so we'd have to figure out how to do that. But I'm sure we'll be able to find a way from that perspective. But that is one of the challenges what we'll have. But again, we haven't had that situation directly at this point.
We haven't had it yet, but I think we have to remember what we've built on Front Road, and the fact that I do see in the future possibly a few days' notice from someone above us who would like to use that facility. And I mean, I think it's important that we also highlight what we've done as a community, especially as we continue to ask for assistance with grants and other opportunities. If we just flat out tell them, no, they can't use our facility, are they going to be willing to help us in the future as well? So as whatever way you feel that this needs to be in the policy that allows us to be able to make those moves quickly is what I would kind of like.
If I can just make a suggestion, if council is dealing with that particular issue, I think we can come up with some sort of delegated authority to the mayor with respect to that. We can deal with that outside of this policy and then just identify that particular issue as a delegated authority through the I believe the delegation of authority bylaw is up for review next year, and we will include that as part of that process.
Is everyone okay with that? Do you need you don't need an actual vote on that part, right? No. Okay. Okay, and Councillor Burns, is there anything else that you mentioned in that you need an answer on?
No, I think as long as we're open to it, then I'm satisfied with administration taking the lead along with the mayor, and it comes before us. Just don't want to burn bridges, I guess, with. And again, I'm not talking about a third-party radical small group. I wouldn't want to see that in any of our facilities. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the event hosting policy in front of you. If everyone is okay with it, the recommendation is to receive and update the policy. Councillor Renaud and Councillor Desjardins, all in favor? That carries.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Yes, we didn't need one formally, so.
And I think my worthy colleague will concur. Thank you.
Thank you. 2023 Summer Session Report.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. The report before you today is a regular report that we do each session, just to provide council with an update on the previous session's success with regards to programs, rentals, events, and so on. This particular report is regarding the summer session, July 1st to August 31st. Just to start, I mention this each time we do this report, but I think it begs repeating, is that the Culture and Recreation Department delivers the report, but certainly our ability to deliver all of the different programs, events, rentals, things of that nature are all done in collaboration with Public Works. This particular summer, Public Works the Facilities Division completed some work in our Rink B. Those of you who have maybe been to the facility recently will have noticed they did quite a bit of work after pulling out the ice to clean the boards, clean the glass, reset some new glass, painting within Rink B that really spruced the area up. They do a fantastic job in a very short amount of time to pull the ice out, do all those repairs, and get the ice back in. And as we'll talk about a little bit later, the summer was very busy with regards to ice time. In addition, our work with the Parks Department is essential to delivering the summer sports field season. And we were delivering approximately 55 hours a day of sports field rentals and over 3,400 hours over the course of the summer. And it's a great collaboration between ourselves and Parks. With regards to the programming that Culture and Recreation delivers, we had 1,251 participants that were in aquatic programming in the summer. That exceeded our summer 2022 number by 95 participants, or an 8.25% increase. At the Vollmer Center, our fill rate was 87.4%, which was up 10.4% from last summer, and our fill rate at the outdoor pool was 74.9%, which was up 3.9%. Overall, the fill rate was 83.7%, which was very positive for the summer and up over 8% from last summer. We also have a partnership each summer, or each of the last 2 summers, I should say, with Pathway to Potential, and we're able to offer free swims at the outdoor pool daily throughout the July and August, and we had 2,407 people come and enjoy swims throughout July and August. With regards to summer camp, this was our second year post-pandemic. Last year was our first year returning after a 3-year hiatus, and last year was successful, but this year was even more successful. This programming staff did a great job of trying to find ways to incorporate additional participants. Last year, we were sold out very quickly, and this year was the same, but we were able to add 446 camper days for a total of 4,620, which was an increase of just over 10% as well. From a membership standpoint, we continue to see the membership grow, and we see the retention as well remain steady. We had 13,498 visits in those 2 months, which was just shy of 225 each day. And that was an increase of 50% over last summer. Of course, last summer, we were returning, having closed in January of 2022 with the pandemic closure. So we would expect it to be greater, but it is good to see the number of people that are coming to the Vollmer. From a facility rental perspective, we rented 3,416 and a half hours of outdoor sports field time and 1,319 plus hours of ice. And point out the ice was up 115.8 hours over the previous summer. And again, as I was mentioning earlier, a testament to Mark Masanovich's team there of getting in the facility, getting everything cleaned and back up and running as quickly as possible, and to Owen's team for booking the ice and filling every area that we could. Most of the increase was related to, I think, increase in daytime activity through figure skating and other groups. Finally, throughout the summer, we were able to also facilitate 10 major third-party events, over 15 event dates, and deliver, obviously, 2 summer night markets ourselves as the town. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Motion to receive.
Okay. We have a motion to receive and support. Deputy Mayor? Yes. All in favor? That carries. Item 4, changes to priority registration.
Thank you again. Your worship and members of council, the report before you is regarding plan changes to our culture and recreation priority registration process. So as you know, each year, culture and recreation delivers 4 programming sessions: fall, winter, spring, summer. And leading up to each of those programming sessions, we have a registration period. That registration period is divided into 2 parts: priority registration and regular registration. Priority registration lasting a week, and then regular registration starting and running until programs begin. The priority period comes with a $5 fee. That priority registration fee started a number of years ago and was at the request of customers who were inquiring about being able to register early and pay an additional fee to secure a spot. Since the return of programming at the Vollmer, following the easing of the pandemic restrictions, what we've seen is that the number of people participating has risen back to what it was pre-pandemic, and in some cases slightly above. And we've also seen that the fill rate is quite high. This past spring, for example, aquatics was a 92% fill rate, meaning 92% of the available spots were taken. That's very positive. In Parks and Recreation, if you were to speak to, say, Parks and Recreation Ontario and look, they would say that a 75% fill rate is good, really good, and we're 92%. So as a result of the popularity of the town programming, we've been researching for quite some time now, the priority registration process, and we had a goal of prioritizing LaSalle residents by moving to a registration model that was predicated on residency. So over the past few months, we've been investigating that, and we're planning to move to a process where we still maintain a priority registration period, but rather than having people be able to register for that period just by paying a fee, that the folks that would be eligible to register during the priority period would be LaSalle residents. Once that priority registration period would pass, anyone would be able to register. Obviously, residents who missed the priority period would still be able to register, but anybody living outside of LaSalle would also be able to register. That would be done through making configuration changes to the software that would identify people who live in LaSalle, and the system would then allow people to register based on their residency. The target implementation date would be December of this year. This is the normal period of registration for the winter session that runs January through to March. We would provide information on this change through on-site delivery. Obviously, we have, I think, about 1,600 participants right now in aquatics alone that are at the building every day, and we'd be able to share direct communication through those means. We'd also use email communication through our town software, and obviously use social media and other informational channels to share the information. It should be noted that the change to prioritize residents would be, this is strictly related to programming, the town-led programming at the Vollmer Center. That doesn't include things like our memberships or rentals. Noted in the report is the financial implications, certainly because we charge currently a $5 fee. If we stopped collecting the $5 fee, there would be a reduction in the total revenue. However, through efficiencies created over the last year or so in programming and user fee increases as part of the 2024 budget, we would be able to offset that. And I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Councillor Carrick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So getting back to the SAW resident registration, because last summer I couldn't get my grandkids in. It was a little bit late, but they live in LaSalle. So that was a little frustrating, so I'm not going to lie. But I'm glad we see that we're moving forward with this. What would be the timeline? Be 48 hours a week? Did we mention that? I don't think we did.
It was not mentioned in the report. Our intention for this coming session would be for a week. Our registration start dates for priority and regular registration were already in the recycle calendar. So we'd certainly want to stick with that because that's out and people have that at their homes and are using that as a reference point. Moving forward in future sessions, we would be shrinking the priority period to probably 48 or 72 hours. What we've noticed through the last few sessions in registering is that the vast majority of registrations happen the very first day that it opens and within a few hours. So we would think that a priority period of a few days, 2 or 3 days, would be more than enough, and then we would open it up for everyone else.
Further, so I'm just following the timeline. So recycle calendars or other ways that the residents will be aware of registration dates outside of that, so that just in case someone doesn't look at that.
Yeah, so the registration timelines, we post through our social media channels when the registration period opens. Because we have a lot of repeat customers where you're maybe in a swimming lesson and now you're moving on to the next level, because we have those people right in our classes and we have report cards that we hand them at the end, we're gonna slide something in there to make them aware of the change. And then certainly through our registration software, we can also send out email notifications.
Councillor Reno.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wondering with the new system, if someone from the City of Windsor wants to register, how can we ensure that they do not make it through? Like, how are we checking their address? Are we checking it physically with a driver's license? What are we doing to ensure that I don't get a call a year from now saying, hey, I know somebody from Windsor that got in priority and my kids couldn't get in? What are we doing?
So thank you for the question. We've already started to have a scheduled report that runs every day, and the clerical team who receives the report is able to check that it's a valid address and postal code, and if it's not, then they're able to contact the person or make any changes in the system to make sure that the address, the postal code, the city are correct. So if, someone said, I live at, on Chilver in Windsor, but they listed as LaSalle as their city or their postal code LaSalle. We're kind of vetting those as they come in. Checking driver's license is a little challenging because people are generally registering online now and they're not right in front of you. I can't say that someone won't, be able to slip through, but I think some of the measures that we're putting in place, we should be able to limit that as much as possible.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councillor Burns.
Being the devil's advocate, my grandkids live in Chatham and they also live in Windsor. So if I just give them my postal code and my address, how do you catch that? I think that's what Mr. Reynolds was referring to. But he was a little more polite than I am. Thank you.
You know, certainly that's entirely possible, and I don't think we're going to be able to catch every instance of this. I think by vetting the information as it's coming in, we'll do our best to manage that. I previously worked for the city of Windsor, and you know, we had situations like that. But I would say they're not as frequent as you might think that they are. But they do happen, and I think by vetting the addresses that come in, that will help. And then certainly what we found through contacting people, certainly about cancellations and other things. I know from my experience previously in the city, we'd contact someone and say, hey, we're calling to let you know your lesson was canceled tonight because of whatever issue. And the person's like, what are you talking about? That's when we know we can follow up with that person directly because they've maybe given us information that doesn't match, so.
Thank you for the response.
Councillor Reno?
Just as a follow-up, I did want to say, this came up as an issue when I was away with recreation staff at a conference last year, where we had a resident that couldn't get in because we allowed everybody in the free world to sit at midnight and pound a button. I think this is a great move forward, and I want to thank you for making the change, because it's our taxpayers and ratepayers that are you know, funding our the background programs and funding our people, and they should be taken care of first. They are our customer before anybody else, and thank you very much for the change.
Any other comments? No? All right. That being said, we can get a motion to receive the new policy. Councillor Reno, Councillor Desjardins, all in favor? That carries. Updates to activity registration and admissions policy.
Thank you, Mayor. So another policy update, a little bit of this is included in Scott's report previously. But the activity registration and admission policy is our policy that identifies how we conduct registration, transfers, refunds, and admissions to recreation activities. So we actually are looking to rescind the walking track policy, as well as an older policy, the prohibition of recreational wheeled devices. There's a summary of changes on this. One of the most important for us is we're updating the refund policy for drop-in activities to require 24 hours notice now. Previously, it's the same day. I'm available for any questions about the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burns.
No question on the policy, but I was asked the question, do we charge residents to use the track indoors during the winter?
We do not. That's currently covered by Pathway to Potential.
Okay, I thought it was, because I know we rescinded that years ago, so, okay, I can let the resident know. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? No, I think a 24-hour change is good. I think that's fair to our staff. So with that, motion to receive, I guess rescind, receive and rescind, receive and approve. Which one is it? There's three things in here. What am I doing? Mission policy receiving that the policy be approved by council, and further the walking track policy and the prohibition of recreational wheeled device policy be rescinded. Councillor Burns, Councillor Carrick, all in favor? That carries. And final report, Animal Superpowers exhibit.
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Your Worship and members of council. The purpose of this report is just to provide a brief update on the Animal Superpowers exhibit, Sean Kenny's Animal Superpowers Made with Lego Bricks exhibit that's coming to the event center, as you're aware. It's produced by Imagine Exhibitions, and it will open to the public on Monday, January 22nd, and it will run until Saturday, April the 6th. The department is currently busy planning all of the details that go along with this, and we don't have a lot of information that we can share at this point, but we hope to have that finalized in the coming weeks and be able to share a bit more. I can tell you that the event website is now live, so there is some information for the public. And we are finalizing the hours of operation, which will include general admission times as well as school field trip times and times for private bookings. And we're expecting to put tickets on sale towards mid to end of November, with our ticket prices announced in the coming weeks. We have also worked with our existing concession contract at the Valmer, which is M&M Concessions. And as a pilot project, we're going to extend that contract to include the food court at the exhibit. There isn't a lot of cooking space that's available, but there will be prepackaged snacks and drinks that will be available during general admission times. As well, we intend to work with local restaurants to connect them with schools that are coming for field trips if they wish to bring in food for students. We did also submit an application for funds from the Experience Ontario 2023 grant. However, we were not successful, but we do have a package of various sponsorship opportunities just in the final stages, and we are starting to approach potential sponsors to help fund some of the costs. And I'm available should there be any questions.
Councillor Burns and Councillor Carrick.
I have a question on the grant. Were we told why we were not accepted? And if not, maybe we should ask, because it'll affect future projects as well. And I just leave that open to administration. I don't need a report now, but we need to know why we were turned down, why it wasn't good enough. And then what sort of projects like this do they fund? If it's more educational than this one or not, I don't know. So I just leave that with administration as comment. Thank you.
Just a quick comment. We normally do ask, and we normally get told nothing. And so it is part of our process that we do it. Again, there's been a number of grants. I can't speak to this one in particular, but I know in previous ones that I've been involved with, we do request information on why our grant wasn't successful and who got the grant so that we could kind of mimic in terms of what their path to success was. We have run into all sorts of roadblocks in terms of getting that information. So we have not been successful in getting those two items that we continue to do that, but unfortunately have not had the success rate that we would like, even just on the success rate of finding out why we weren't successful. So, thanks.
Councillor Carrick.
So I've been trying to explain it to my grandkids as best I can, but they're pretty excited. And overall, I think it's great. And this is not a registration priority. And I've had quite a few people from outside of LaSalle ask about it. So I think that the more the better. Thank you.
Councillor Regis-Bagnall and Councillor Reno. No, you're good? Okay.
Thank you, through you. Just a question. I noticed that you did contact the school boards. Are you sending letters like to the schools, or are you speaking to certain grades only because, or parent council? I'm on parent council at my kid's school, so we have a pretty hefty fund there. So I did bring this up actually last week to our parent council. So we are interested in perhaps doing something like this and sending some grades there. So that's what I was just wondering if you contacted parent councils, because that would probably be the best bet, especially within the LaSalle areas, and then schools of administrations in the city and county.
So we have had some contacts with the school board. What we've learned is for the school boards, we go through a superintendent's office. There's approved field trips that meet certain criteria, which we are confident this obviously meets. And then they post those in a specific site where all of the schools then see it as an approved field trip, and then they can book from there. So.
Okay. Any other questions? I know, I look forward to it. All right. So if we can just receive that. Councillor Carrick, Councillor Regis-Bagnall, all in favor? That carries as well. Any questions or statements from members of the committee? Councillor Regis-Bagnall.
Thank you. Through you, just a question. I just wanted to circle back on this. I think I brought this up maybe last year. Are we going to consider or think about doing a campaign at the Valmer with selling seats? The reason why I ask is I'm at the Valmer multiple times a week for either the Vipers games or my kids' hockey, and I do have a lot of residents who do ask me, because they see some names that are on chairs, whether they're new hockey parents or whatever the case may be. And I think it's a great idea to bring in some income, and I think it's just, like, I've spoken to several people who are interested in purchasing a seat. So I know that, I think it might have been you, Ms. Finaro, that you had mentioned that you guys thought about this a couple of years back when you initially started this campaign. I don't know if we're going to relook at starting it again. I just think it's a good opportunity to get some more names and some sponsorship dollars in the community.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we are exploring that. However, given the current workload and scope of events that are going on within the department, we don't have anything at this point to present to you, but it is something that is on the task list of things to explore and bring some further information back to you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I was wondering if it would be possible in an upcoming meeting, maybe to get a summary of the activities and success of just the event center, and maybe things we've learned in this past year that we maybe need to consider for future budgets for changes of operation. I know you mentioned the kitchen, and I know when we built the facility, it made sense the way we built it. Are we looking at it now going, yes, this is still perfect? Just maybe upcoming, no rush. I know budget time's coming, but something maybe we could have. Do we need a motion to have that? I will turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor then, so that I can make the motion.
Your worship, I understand you'd like to make a motion.
I would.
Please go ahead.
I'd like to receive that report on the success and changes or things necessary at the event center for the first year of business and operation, since shockingly, we are already a year into it.
Got us a seconder? Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That motion passes. I cede the chair to you, your worship.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or statements? Our next meeting, well, we don't have anything scheduled this time. So, maybe before we leave, any last minute comments regarding this weekend's event? Or any details that we need to share?
I'll just turn it over to Owen to give you the details.
Sorry, Mayor, are you referring to Truck or Treat or Hickey's Halloween Hoedown? Truck or Treat? Yeah, so just a summary of the event. We're actually, this I think year will be one of our best years in terms of feedback from vehicles. We've got a number of community businesses that are working with us and a number of new vehicles. So we are all set. We're working with our partners. I think if my memory serves, last year we handed just north of 40,000 pieces of candy. So we're stockpiling in my office for that again. But we should be all set for the weekend.
I see. So what I heard was go to his office if you need a snack. Got it.
So, sorry, I forgot to mention that it is noon to 4 p.m. Saturday at the Vollmer, parking lot 3.
Okay.
Just a comment.
It's one of the reasons.
Thank you for the
I
update,
apologize.
just the information to be able to share with our residents, because I know everyone gets excited this time of year. So thank you for that, and we will adjourn our meeting.